Hey friends, in today's video we are going to talk about my February wrap-up, and I just cannot believe that February is over already and we're going on into March. Unfortunately, I only got around to reading 3 books this month, although I did read quite a few magazines and I did binge watch a lot of TV. So my February wrap-up this month is going to consist of the books I read, but also I'm going to include in some of the TV shows and movies that I watched this month because, like I said, I binged hard this month. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The first book that we are going to talk about is The Temple of My Familiar by Alice Walker. I challenged myself to read this book as a part of Black History Month. Unfortunately, it was a difficult read for me. I was seriously confused throughout this book. I managed to get halfway through this book before I DNF'd it. So there's a woman in this book who has multiple past lives, and the way that it's written, you have a hard time distinguishing, like, is this really the same character we're talking about kind of thing. So I was super confused. I did enjoy quite a bit of the stories, but because I was so confused, my brain couldn't deal with it and I had to stop. So unfortunately I had to DNF this. Hopefully in the future I can get around to try to read this again. Because I did enjoy the stories, it was a little too difficult for me at this point in time, especially where I'm just getting back into reading after not having really read consecutively for like 10 years. So the next book I read is Cocaine Blues by Carrie Greenwood. This is a Miss Fisher murder mystery. It's part of the series, or I guess it's a Franny Fisher mystery. Anyways, this book follows Franny once she returns to Melbourne from London. She's kind of sent to Melbourne to basically investigate a woman who her parents have some concerns about. She ends up uncovering a drug ring and also she ends up helping the cops to catch a illegal abortionist who was basically butchering women and giving them abortions, and it was just I have nothing against abortion, it's just the way that it's in this book, and like it's, you know, in that time period, not that great. I really enjoyed this book. I'm a huge fan of the TV series, so I was kind of iffy. I didn't know how similar the books were going to be to the TV series and if I'd like them, because sometimes they're, you know, quite different, and the book is a little bit different, but it's still so enjoyable. I really, really loved this book. So yeah, I really do want to continue with the series. So I gave this a 3.5 star on Goodreads because I really did enjoy it. I mean, there were some parts of it I didn't really love, but I still really enjoyed it. It's closer to a 4 star, I would probably say. I mean, the longer I think about it and, you know, the longer time that has elapsed since I've last read it, I still really love it, and I really want to read the other ones. So the next book that I read is 12 Years a Slave by Solomon Northup. This follows a black man who is born free in New York State, and he is captured and forced into slavery in, I think, Louisiana. This is a hard book to read. This book is a first-hand account / memoir, and it's a very real story. It's very difficult to read. Even in his other, I think he did other interviews or whatever, he mentioned that he wrote this book and left out some of the more darker and I guess more hard to digest parts because he wanted this book to be more, I guess, palpable for the public. If he went, you know, sugarcoating this book, it's kind of just unimaginable because even the stuff that is mentioned in this book is really hard to digest. I have seen the movie, and the movie does differ from the book in some ways. I mean, it's kind of hard to say you enjoy a book about slavery because obviously it's mind-blowing. But I did rate this a 5 star on Goodreads because overall I enjoyed his storytelling. And, I mean, honestly, to be as brave to put a memoir so, you know, shortly after becoming free again and still having your slave capturers or kidnappers like out there to just like do something to you. Like, I thought that was incredibly brave that he wrote this memoir with them still not being brought to justice. So the next book I read, which technically sitting right here now that I'm filming this, I haven't actually read this completely yet, but by the time this video goes up I will have read it, so I will put in my thoughts. It's always hard to write a short story when there's obviously shorter stories in a little book. Sometimes you end up not liking other stories, and sometimes you end up loving other stories. So with this one, because it deals with murder, there are some other tones of like rape and then bodily mutilation, which is, you know, obviously tough subjects to read about. But in this one, there was a story about a man who was abused as a child by his mother, both physically, mentally, sexually, and then he ends up growing up and becoming a serial rapist / murderer. So obviously those things are difficult to read about. There was some parts of the stories in these stories that I did not like, and you know, for that reason I'm probably rating this a 3-star. I mean, I liked some things. There was one story in here that was like about the Black Dahlia, and it had Marilyn Monroe in it, and they like knew each other, so I really liked that story. But all the other ones were just kind of okay. I really didn't enjoy a whole lot of the others. I mean, they were still good, but they weren't something that I really loved. So yeah, it's just gonna be a 3-star for me. Now we are going to talk about some movies and TV shows that I watched this month. So the first one is Colette. This is with Keira Knightley, and I absolutely love Keira Knightley. She's so good in any darn period drama. But this follows the story of writer Colette. She's a French writer. She's technically a French ghostwriter at the time that she's writing most of her stories. Her husband basically hires her to write, and he gets rich off of her intellectual property and says that it's, you know, he wrote it, which she did. I've never heard of this author before watching this movie. I love this movie. Anything with Keira Knightley in it, I pretty much love. So yeah, this was a good movie. I suggest you go watch it. So I watched a TV show, a German TV show. It's kind of like a German murder mystery investigation kind of thing called Perfume. This basically follows the story, or I guess the murder of a woman who has, well, been murdered. But she has her sweat glands taken out of her body and her head shaved, and they suspect that it's used to make perfume. And this follows quite a twisted and dark story, but I really loved this. And it's also, the story is kind of loosely based off a classic book by the same name by a German author, so it was really interesting to watch, and it was really good. Although one part about this series that I did not like was the relationship the lead female investigator had with her other lead male investigator. They had a pretty messed up and toxic relationship, and she kind of came across as, I don't know, a whiny kind of woman who couldn't get her way. It just did not portray her character in the best light, and I did not like that about the series at all. But it's still a good series. So the next TV show that my sister and I binge watched, like we literally stayed up till like 2 o'clock in the morning and watched this, is Land Girls. So this is basically a series about women during World War II who go and work on farms to contribute to the war effort. And of course there's many different characters. There's storylines about love and loss and hard work, and so it's a pretty good series to binge watch. I was kind of hesitant of watching this one because when we watched the first episode it felt very Coronation Street, and you know, it's just that kind of cheesy kind of vibe, but it's a bit better than Coronation Street, so I stuck through it and watched it, and it ended up being pretty good. So the next movie that I watched was Bohemian Rhapsody. This is of course about Queen and how they became famous pretty much and all the stuff that transpired. I don't think I need to explain the plot too much. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen this movie already. It's pretty good. It's like half musical, half, well, it's not really a musical, it's just like a biopic kind of like of a rock band, but it's really cool. I liked how they showed how they came up with these songs and how that transpired and all that, so that was like super cool. My favorite part about this film is all the cats that Freddie Mercury had. Holy crap, he had oodles and oodles of cats. His cats even had their own room in his big mansion. It was amazing. I loved it. There's so many cute kitty cats. Like, oh my god. So yeah, I overall did really like this film. It was so good. So next I watched A Star Is Born. This follows the story of a country singer, Jackson Maine. He discovers this girl named Allie, and they basically fall in love, they get married, and then Allie becomes a big singer. And this also follows Jackson's addiction with drugs and alcohol. This is also like a big movie lately, and I don't know if I really liked it. It was an okay movie for me. I absolutely adored Lady Gaga's acting. She is amazing. Like, that girl could do anything, and I love her even more because, like, she has a chronic illness. I have a chronic illness. She's chronic pain. I have chronic pain. Like, how does she do this stuff? Like, mind blown. But she is amazing in this movie. I really loved her part in it. But I think his name's Bradley Cooper. I can't remember if it's him or not. But I didn't really like his part in this movie. His accent really got to me. It was annoying. So the next movie that I watched was Ralph Breaks the Internet. Basically, Penelope von Schweetz, her game gets broken. They discover that there is a wheel on the internet, so they can go and, you know, get the wheel and fix the game and all that stuff. So they travel into the internet, the interwebs, to go and find this wheel, and some stuff goes down. It's a really good movie. I liked it, and the parts about the princesses, my favorite. It was awesome seeing the princesses, but you also get a whole lot of other cameos from like different Disney and Pixar characters throughout the movie. Like, there's Bud Lightyear in it. That was awesome.
Bud Lightyear.
I said Buzz, but it kind of came out as Bud. The next movie I watched was Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost. If you've seen like the 80s original, the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, then you kind of know the gist of this. Basically, they did not catch the 13 ghosts. Vincent Van Gogh sends out like a distress signal to Daphne, and the gang, Freddie and Velma, basically don't know what happened that summer because they were at camp. So they kind of have to explain everything, and Velma's really skeptical because there's no way that real ghosts exist and all that kind of stuff. So they go and they basically help Vincent Van Gogh out. We also have, I don't know if this is a spoiler, I don't know how many of you are going to watch this, but Flim Flam comes back and he's grown. He's not little short pipsqueak anymore. He's grown. He's an adult. But this is so enjoyable. My sister and I love watching Scooby-Doo. Like, we are obsessed, pretty much. We love Scooby-Doo. So this was great. It was like so nostalgic, and I'm like, yes, that's what happened. It was great. It was really good. Yeah. And the last movie of the month that I watched was The Black Klansman. Now, this was quite the movie. Oh my god. So this basically follows the story of the first black police officer to enter the Colorado Springs police force. He basically gets into investigating the KKK, and oh my god. This was really quite a story, and I believe this is actually based off a true story, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure about that. I think it is. But yeah, this was quite the movie. But it was also so infuriating the way that some of the other cops thought that the KKK wasn't actually that big of a threat. They just thought that they were just a nice little hating group of people. And not that they're like out to actually kill people. So I did overall enjoy this movie. The actors in this movie were really great. I got to learn some history that I really didn't know too much about. So I really enjoyed watching this. Obviously the KKK are terrible. Like, it's just disgusting that that actually happened and that people, their hate is so deep that they have to join a hateful group of people that's focused on hating other groups of people. Like, it's just, I don't understand it. But anyways, those are all the movies that I watched this month and the books that I read. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more. My Instagram, Goodreads, and Twitter will be in the description below, so you can go and follow me there. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!